Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Ethereum, a cause for concern. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the sale on the premium list, which you can find a link to in the description below. Also, if you don't like the content, you are free to give the video a thumbs down. So, I want to talk about some of the concerns I have right now with the Ethereum price and just kind of show you what I'm seeing. I certainly don't find pleasure in talking about the bearish cases, but I think it is at least worth talking about considering the most recent rejection that we faced off of the bull market support band. Okay, so let's just go ahead and jump in. And if I show you what I'm seeing, you can either feel free to agree, disagree. I would love for things to stay bullish, but I also don't want to look at a bearish chart and say that it screams bullish in the short term when I don't think it does. Okay, so one of the things that we've done before is we've compared this move over here with this one, okay? But one of the things we have to keep an eye on is to note if at any point they start to deviate. And there is a potential deviation here in terms of getting rejected off of the bull market support band. Okay, so it would be foolish to ignore the deviation. All right, and so I mean, of course, we'll follow this every step of the way. Eventually, Ethereum will get back above its bull market support band, but right now, it looks to me like we are facing some level of rejection here. And if you zoom in, we didn't really even make it there. Okay, I mean, we didn't even really make it to the 21-week EMA before really getting rejected, which to me looks pretty weak, to be completely honest. Right, looks pretty weak. So what I want to talk about is, if you go look at Bitcoin, you also see a very similar type of rejection, right? So Bitcoin's rejected off of its bull market support band here. Ethereum, it looks like it's getting rejected as well. And so, what this normally means, if we're not able to have some, crazy rally in the short term to sort of negate this, what it usually means is you're going to either retest the prior low or you're going to be putting in a lower low. That's just what it means. All right. So if we get rejected off of it, we're more than likely going to be putting in a lower low or at the very least retesting the prior low. But I would honestly lean towards more likely putting in a lower low if this rejection plays out. So, and it looks like it is. Okay. Furthermore, the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation is getting rejected off of its own bull market support band. So, it's hard for me to look at this and say that either of these look bullish, right? Like, it's hard for me to say, look, either Bitcoin looks bullish or Ethereum looks bullish. Right now, neither of them look bullish, okay? And one of the things I've mentioned before is, I do think that the Bitcoin dominance should go up. Okay, so I would expect the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation, it's more likely to bleed in the short term. All right. And the reason I say that right now is because of the rejection off the bull market support band here. Ethereum USD is getting rejected off its own bull market support band, and Bitcoin is getting rejected off its own bull market support band. And normally, when the market is bearish, Bitcoin tends to hold up better than Ethereum. It's just a fact. That's just what we've seen in the past. It doesn't mean it has to play out like that this time. Perhaps Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin, but this is just what we've seen historically. Okay, and this is all we can really go by is what have we seen historically. And typically, when you see these types of moves in the market where Bitcoin gets rejected, Ethereum normally gets rejected a bit harder than Bitcoin does. So when we look at this, I mean, we still are very much in our macro range of around, say, $1,700 up to, let's just call it a little over 4,000. But I think it's more likely that at the very least, we probably come back down and retest this low. Okay. And I don't say that lightly, that, but when getting rejected off of the one of the primary indicators that I use, I have to take it seriously. I can't just look at it and say, well, we'll just continue to be completely blind to the fact that the market is telling us something and we're ignoring it. No, I think it's fair to say that the market is telling us that there is a significant amount of weakness right now in Ethereum's valuation. Not only is it getting rejected off its bull market support band, but Ether Bitcoin is getting rejected off its bull market support band. And then, of course, also Bitcoin is getting rejected off of it. And you also have the NASDAQ getting rejected off of it and the S&P getting rejected off of it. One of the main things that's not getting rejected off of it is the US dollar, which is holding it as support, which is the telltale sign that the market remains bearish. So I want to put this video out there, a cause for concern, because I want people to try to get in the right mindset right now, because it's hard shifting gears from one mindset to another, right? It's hard. When the market is bullish, you generally just the buy the dip mentality tends to work out more often than not, right? It does tend to work out. But on the other hand, if the market is bearish, the dips can keep on dipping. So one of the most common mistakes I see is that people and there will be a number of people that even will do the same thing with this video. They'll criticize it. They'll say, Ben doesn't know what he's talking about, which is probably true, to be completely honest. But the problem is that they'll say, okay, no, look, Ethereum is a discount. This makes sense. Like, this is the time to really go all in. But no, that's more than likely not a smart strategy at this point. And I mean, I have to keep like a pragmatic view. We first talked about Ethereum on this channel at $100 or $200, and we talked about where we thought it was headed. It made it to $4,800 so far, but in the short term, I cannot look at this and think that it looks bullish. Okay, so at the very least, later today we'll see what the stock market does, how the stock market opens. If we get some major green engulfing candle and we can just wipe all this bearish action away, then I would love to eat my words on this entire video, right? I would love to eat my words, but I also think it would be foolish to just sit here and pretend like one of the scenarios that could play out would just be to come back down and then maybe to come back up and test it again, maybe in a couple months, maybe in April, like something like that. So maybe Ethereum bleeding as we head into March, putting in another local low in March, and then perhaps getting another bounce off the lows, off the prior lows of around $1,700, and then coming back up to the bull market support band, and then we'll test it again. I don't know exactly where we'll test it, but there is a good chance Ethereum will test it again in the coming months. But it does seem like in the short term, we've had a test of it, and it was rejected. Okay, and I do take these things seriously, even if there's a chance that it could be wrong, like it could be a false signal, right? There's always a chance we wake up tomorrow and Ethereum is back up to $3,500 and it's taking a stab at the actual bull market support band again. But to rely on that and to say that it has to happen, I do think is foolish, and I think one of the most common mistakes you can make is to just act like every dip is the best opportunity to buy, because more than likely it's not. Okay, more than likely there will be lower lows coming if you're patient enough. So what you can do to sort of minimize the pain is to, first of all, if you're over invested, that's not smart. That's never smart. Okay, if you've invested more than you can afford to lose, that is not a good strategy. But the other thing you can do is you can focus on getting a heavier cash position to hopefully take advantage of a theoretical capitulation eventually. I don't know what's going to come, but it's probably not going to be tomorrow. Okay, so when we're talking about macro strategy here, Ethereum is at $2,600. There's nothing stopping it from going, from dropping a lot more from where it currently is, right? There's really nothing stopping it, especially if this hype continues to die down and we don't see a surge of new retail interest anytime soon. So if the price does continue to go down, then your future self would be thankful if your current self could see that and started stacking cash some. Okay, I'm not going to give financial advice, but this is what I would be doing. Okay, it would be to start stacking cash and basically to just be patient and wait for the market to show signs of life. And you might say, well, what is a sign of life? What would that look like? Well, I think it looks like one of two things. Okay, and I'll talk about, and we've talked about this for a number of weeks now. It looks like one of two things. So either we see Bitcoin get above its bull market support band and hold it as support, which would be great, and we can all continue the party whenever that happens, or we see some type of major shakeout capitulation with a ton of volume. That's what that's what we're really looking for. Until either of those things happen, I cannot look at this market and just be blindly bullish and just pretend like everything from a macro perspective doesn't exist, because it does. I mean, it certainly does exist here in the short term. Market looks bearish now. Maybe in 6 months it won't. Maybe in 3 months it won't. Maybe in 8 months it won't. I don't know exactly what the timeline is. All I can say is what it looks like right now is that it looks bearish. We will see when we can get another test of the bull market support band. But usually if you get a failure, the next one is more than likely, more than just a couple weeks away, right? Like it's probably at least a couple months away from really getting a serious retest of the bull market support band. So take it for what you will. Try to manage your risk accordingly. And as hard as it is to navigate these markets, if you can just stick through it, eventually, I think Ethereum will prevail and put in higher highs. But you need to be patient because it's probably going to be more than just a couple of weeks before that happens. So, or more than just a few months. Okay. So there you have it. Not a fun video to make, but certainly a video I think we need to talk about and to just say, you know what, this fractal has played out for a long time, and it's possible that it could continue to play out if we do end up going and testing those lows. I mean, you can see this long fractal that played out over here. The final capitulation was in fact a drop to the low that we had seen previously. But I think one of the differences here is that we've already come back up to sort of test the bull market support band and get rejected. So we'll continue to follow this. But the problem is if we do come back down to the low and then come back up to the bull market support band, if we get rejected here and we come back down, then you really have to, I mean, the fractal will be diverging at that point. Okay, so you have to look at all scenarios here, right? Manage your risk accordingly. Don't assume that any one scenario has to play out. And I say that in the sense of not even being 100% committed to the bearish case. I mean, there's certainly a possibility that Ethereum and Bitcoin are going through some type of brutal correction right now, but that will cover in a few months and we'll continue the party. That is a possibility, but all I can say right now is what I have with the charts in front of me. And that is that Bitcoin and Ethereum are getting rejected off of their bull market support band. And furthermore, Ether Bitcoin is getting rejected off of its bull market support band. We've talked about this whole idea of like Wyckoff distribution before with Bitcoin USD. I think you could make a case that this is some type of Wyckoff distribution for Ether Bitcoin, right? And to see it, I mean, if this sort of trend line breaks down here, then I think there's more a pretty strong likelihood of coming back down at least to the bottom of this trend line, meaning you could easily see Ether Bitcoin's valuation back at 0.05. Okay, so please consider the possibility. I understand a lot of people, it's painful, you're going to be upset, but if you can put the emotions aside, the only thing you can do now is to try to plan for how you can navigate this market from here. And so one of the things you can do is try to be patient and try not to assume that every dip is the final dip, but be patient and wait until the market shows strength. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also, there's a sale on the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.